Yo, what's up? It's your guy, Randy Lee Roberts. It is New Year's Eve, and I'm still here in Phuket, Thailand. I'm gonna go out and see some sights tonight. Looking forward to that. I'm also looking forward to talking about this. This output will be, probably the most metaphysical one so far, just because the idea is so intangible, and there's been so many things written about it, and so many people try to communicate. And the idea is, surrounding finding meaning in the moment, and finding how to get to the moment, how to be in the moment, how to be in the present. There's entire religions wrapped around the idea of being as present as humanly possible, godlike amounts of presence. And I think that for me, the struggle has always been to figure out how to find a philosophy that tied two of my big worldviews together. And those two views are, I think that thoughts are things, and I think that you should have a really clear vision of what you want, and I should have a clear vision of what I want, see my goals really vividly, see myself doing the things I want to be doing. And I feel like that's important for paving the way for my future activities and for kind of the message that you're sending in general consistently, whether that be to universe, if you're thinking that way, or quite literally and from more of like a logical or binary perspective. I think that it's really, really, really a must to have a clear expectation, a clear visual for what you want specifically, very, very specifically. And then the other worldview is that I think that you enjoy your life the most when you're fully present, when you're here and you're not tied to expectations and you're not tied to, a more emotional construct. It's not necessarily the most realistic way to live a complete life in today's society. You can't be just like sitting there quivering with bliss every 2 seconds because you're in the moment, as great as that would be. But I do think that there is like a major, major, major benefit to being able to hone in on being in the moment and sort of be able to clear your mind and focus. What's interesting is the more I thought about this and the more I think about this, I see that where we have meaning on one side, trying to live a life of meaning, and where we have trying to live a life in the moment on the other side here, there's sort of a similar thing that's happening in both of these places here. And that's, time is running through the equation in both of these, and our experience of time. And what's really interesting to me is that on one side here, where meaning is, is the core, like you want to have a meaningful life and you're living with purpose, you have sort of identified what you want, right? Like we talked about a couple outputs ago. Identify what we want, and then we're going to do that thing, and have a clear visual of ourselves doing that and being able to do that, being excited by that. And then it comes down to, okay, we're going to figure out how we can do that, which was the last thing I was talking about. And then this one is like, okay, we're going to do that. Now, the interesting thing about the future is that it's only in the realm of thought. Obviously, we're not occupying the future, so it's only in the realm of thought, right? And so our thoughts manage and steer up ahead. They make sort of corrective decisions up ahead. So just ahead of meaning, we're searching for meaning. And yet meaning really happens in the moment. In the moments you derive your meaning, and sort of life is questioning you just as much as you're questioning life, and you're living through this. But you want to live through these distinctions. You want to live through with intentionality and make this transition through the present moment. So then being present here, same thing with the present. So you have meaning, and you're dialing in what your meaning is, And then over here, you have the present moment. And anything ahead of the present moment can only be in the realm of thought. Now, once you're here in the present and you're living with your meaning, every action that you take moves into the past, right? And so actions are in the realm of the past. Thoughts are in the realm of the future. And in the moment is the synergy between, the place that those concepts join. So, what do we do with that? Well, obviously the first thing that you might think about is the fact that you can also think about the actions that you've taken, and you should be thinking about the actions that you've taken and sort of calibrating that and steering it and putting it into the pile so that as you're moving through, it's sort of course correction by way of destination and, where you've been and where you've coming from. So, from that perspective, the past is also in the realm of the thought, but only the future has the realm of the thought, and only the past can be in the realm of action. So that gives us like a really good window how to think about how to merge these two things, and that there's a place for each of these types of this type of thought, and that there's kind of a big picture here that I'm noticing, especially today. Today, I'm really noticing a big picture. I sat outside in the courtyard here at the condo, and there's a pool that no one is ever in, and I wasn't entirely sure that it wouldn't kill me, because I've only seen a couple people in it, and I haven't seen them after they've ever been in it. But I decided to take my chances today, and I went and sat in this pool, and I wanted to meditate in the pool. And this was a really incredible experience. First off, meditating in a pool when you have it to yourself is really cool. You should try that sometime. It's just nice. You're kind of floaty. It fits the vibe. Takes a second to make it so you're not floating around and bobbling around like a Cheeto you dropped in a pop. But I sat there and I had to get myself completely still because I wanted the water to calm down. And I was kind of engaging the water as like, how calm, get my breath under control, get my movements under control. I was using that as kind of a focus point for the meditation. Then beyond that, once it chilled out, I could see the reflection of the building in the water. And I honed in on one space where through the hallway there was a window, and the sunlight was coming through that window. And in the water, I'm looking at the reflection of that. It got completely still. It was like a sheet of glass, a reflective mirror. And I just, for whatever reason, I instinctively decided I wasn't going to blink, and I was just going to stare at this window and try to, usually when I do like a mindfulness type thing, I focus on my breath and a couple nonsense words or a mantra, whatever you want to call it. And this time I decided to focus on this window and just zero in on it and not blink for some reason. And as this was happening, it was really cool. It was really, really cool. I got my thoughts out of the way. I was having these thoughts, and they kept coming, and as it does in meditation, you just kind of let them pass and let them flow, and that was cool. And I really got locked in. I got really dialed in where I was in the zone. I was not thinking anything. I was just being. And the fact that I hadn't been blinking kind of compound that. I'm sure I looked like an absolute nutcase sitting in this pool, to the poor Thai people around here watching me do this. And so I'm sitting in there, and then bloop, this drop of rain hits right in front of me, and it took the reflection that was my entire reality and the whole point of my fixation and my studied being, and it turned it into ripples in time. And the ripples were these just beautiful trails of, their echoes, just, their proximity signifying their distance from that moment and the transience that had passed. And it just rocked me to my core to see, and then another one, and then another one, and another one. This is the rain picked up, and each one, boop, and then this radiating from the center of this, and And in a time when, there's bats, around this time, all these bats come flying out of the thing right here, and they fly right past the window. So these drops just radiating out, and it couldn't have been easier or more poetic for, significance into the passage of the present moment and out, and how everything's gone. Things are gone the moment they happen. It's gone. That's it. They're gone. And we leave a trail by what we do and what we make and who we are. And so then I started to think about this whole kind of composition here. I've got the reflection of the water, which is the building, and then I have the raindrops, and I'm looking at both of these, and I can switch to where I'm trying to put together a picture of the building. The raindrops are distorting the water, but I can get it, I can lock it, I can see it, and then I can change my focus, and I can look at the raindrops only and not really see it. And then I see this other option of, I can see the raindrops and the reflection, right? And when I'm meditating, and just typically when I'm trying to be present, I notice that this is sort of my thing. It's like I have thoughts, not thoughts, and that's all I'm really distinguishing, right? And then I realized there's this third option where there's this being that's wrapped around, there's this space, this silence, this emptiness that's wrapped around that entire construct. And I can choose to pull into that space and honor that thing and monitor that thing. Really hard to explain without, experiencing it. But it tipped me off to the way that sort of my peripheral focus, it will help me make sure that I'm living in the moment, that I'm keeping focused on the building. Or let's say I'm living with meaning, I'm focused on the building, let's do that. And that I'm here in the moment, I'm witnessing the drops, and they're passing by. And I can look at both of them at the same time, and I can consume this entire picture. And I can choose when I want to, but to be aware of this, that there's lanes, to be aware of sort of the landscape of my existence, and to know what tools are navigating me through, what tools signify landmarks, to know when the time is to plan, when the time is to consider emotionally, consider rationally, when the time is to act. And to keep all of that in focus with this sort of soft glance, this open gaze, this unflinching gaze, and being aware that as you move through things, you're taking things with you. You're taking your intentions with you. You're taking your past with you. You're taking your raw sense of being, and you can choose to line up the current moment with your meaning whenever you want to. And that happens most precisely and most effectively when you are completely focused on the moment with intention, taking action towards your meaning, and being as intentional as humanly possible for that period of time. You're taking a meditative focus on something that gives you meaning, and in that time, you're looking at this as your meditation. And so this has given me a new idea, a new way to approach my craft and my crafts and the things I'm interested in, and to take a look, like I'm excited to, tomorrow to get up, put my guitar in my hand, and think of this as a meditation. Think of every string, vibrating, and think of every, plug-in I drop in and tweak in every little thing that I do while I'm producing as a meditation, as an intentional meditation, and a thing where I'm trying to calibrate and focus everything all in one moment and be as intentional as possible. There's so many things that have been said about being here now and how, the moment is the only real thing that we have. And I think it's not so simple, obviously. But I do think that it's powerful. And I do think that it is a true nature of reality. And I'm careful to say a, because I think with the limited amount of senses that I have, I don't know the true nature of reality. But I think a true nature of reality is to be as aware of the current moment and its transient nature as possible. And to take that mindset, the same mindset that you would use in a meditation, and apply it to your craft or to the betterment of yourself, to creating yourself, to taking that time and making that specific and making that intentional for myself, just like I would when I am sitting there with the intention of meditating or going to sleep or eating. Let's see what that's like. Let's see what that does. Let's see if that just lights me up, because I really think that it will. And if you decide to try it and you're checking this out, let me know what it does for you. If you have a meditation practice already, great. If you don't, you should check out, there's a couple, like Headspace and Calm is another one. They're apps that you can download and you can get their free, sort of versions and get going. There's a book called Joy on Demand that I highly recommend everybody check out for meditation. Get into it. It's a life changer. It's a game changer. Every single top performing person I've ever come across in my life has a meditation practice. And so if you don't and you want to check that out, cool, dive into that. If you already have one and you apply that mindset to it, let me know. I think, I talked about using the timers in another video. I think that's sort of pushing into that same thing, because I use the timers for meditation. I'm just taking my time and using it very intentionally. But this is a step further than just being intentional or scheduling something. When you schedule something, you make it real. You bring you're bringing, your intention into reality when you schedule something, and then you actually act on it. Like scheduling is like a lasso for your intended created future. It's a lasso that brings it into the moment. It brings it into being at a certain time in a certain place, which is really powerful to observe, obviously. And I'm talking about something a little bit different. I'm talking about like putting a religious focus, a self-searching focus into something that you love or something that you're creating. Even if that's yourself, if it's a workout, if it's a stupid new hobby you're after, whatever it is, putting a religious focus on that for a select period of time and seeing how close to that you can get. I have a feeling, we're as I'm talking about it out loud, I realize that it's approaching some of the ideas behind flow state and things of that nature, which obviously people have covered at length, and it's been a buzzword over the past few years. So that's cool. I'm going to check that out too. And I'm going to see, if there's any clues, in there, and if that's actually what I'm getting at here, or if there's a way to kind of merge that with what I'm talking about. Anyway, I know this has been a bit long-winded and a bit sort of all over the place, but hopefully you stuck with me. Again, I'm probably going to take all these that I'm talking about, because this is like a process, and do a recap and kind of try to give it some orientation and make some sense out of it. Anyway, thanks for listening, and until the next output, I hope you are great. Bye.